Welcome to another episode of HR Game Changers. We're going to be taking a deep dive into some pretty interesting questions about the future of work today.
Okay.
We're looking at an article called The Dark Side of Outsourcing and Automation by Brett Beauchamp Russell.
Right.
And this article really kind of challenges us to think about the potential downsides of two huge trends that we're seeing in the business world, outsourcing and automation.
Huge.
So obviously, these strategies can really boost a company's efficiency and their bottom line.
For sure.
But the article is kind of asking, are they coming at the expense of worker stability and career opportunities? What do you think?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
I think it's super easy to get caught up in all the hype about increased productivity and cost savings.
Right.
But we can't forget about the potential long-term consequences for the workforce, both domestically and globally.
Okay, so let's just start with outsourcing. It feels like, almost every time you call customer service these days, you end up talking to someone overseas.
Yeah, you're right.
It's such a subtle shift.
It is.
But it really does highlight how jobs are moving from one country to another, often in search of those cheaper labor markets.
Right. And it's been happening for a while. It's a trend that's been going on. And, it's not just limited to call centers. We're seeing it across all sorts of industries, from manufacturing to IT.
Right.
And this article raises some, I think, really valid concerns about the impact this can have on domestic jobs, especially those middle-class jobs that used to be the backbone of so many economies.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, what happens to a town when its primary employer just shuts down or moves operations overseas?
Totally.
Yeah.
It's not just about individual job losses. It's about the whole ripple effect on entire communities.
Right.
And we can't forget about nearshoring too.
Oh, yeah.
Which is becoming more and more common.
Right.
So instead of outsourcing to faraway countries, companies are moving operations to nearby countries where labor costs might still be lower.
Right.
But the question is, do these outsourced jobs, whether near or far, truly offer the same level of quality and security?
It's such a complex issue.
It is.
With a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
And then you throw automation into the mix.
Oh, yeah.
And things get even more
it gets crazy.
Complicated.
Yeah.
Right.
So automation, especially in the form of robotic process automation or RPA, is a total game changer.
Right.
I mean, this technology is completely changing how businesses operate by taking these repetitive, time-consuming tasks that humans used to handle and just automating them.
So we're talking about software robots taking over tasks like data entry, invoice processing, scheduling, things like that.
Yes.
And while that might sound great from an efficiency standpoint, this article raises a really critical concern about the impact on entry-level and mid-level jobs.
Yes, because, those jobs have traditionally served as stepping stones for people entering the workforce.
Right.
Or who are looking to kind of climb that career ladder.
Right.
If those opportunities just disappear, how do people gain the experience and skills they need to advance?
It's almost as if we're removing the bottom rungs of the ladder.
Exactly.
Making it so much harder to reach those higher level positions.
Yeah, and I can see that leading to what the article called de-skilling, where entire skill sets become less valuable as automation takes over.
So it's not just about individual workers losing their jobs. It's about potentially undermining the entire talent pool of a nation. If we become overly reliant on automation, we risk creating a workforce that lacks those essential skills needed to adapt and thrive in the future.
It's scary.
So we've got outsourcing potentially shifting the location of jobs and automation potentially changing the very nature of work. So this brings us to the bigger picture.
Okay.
How do these trends impact hiring practices and company culture?
I think the thing is, it's not just about what jobs exist.
Right.
It's about how companies hire and manage their people.
Yeah.
The dynamics are changing in some really profound ways.
Like, for instance, if a company knows it can outsource or automate a job in a few years, will it be as invested in training and developing its current employees for that role?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And I think if companies are constantly just looking for the cheapest and most efficient solution, they might be less likely to invest in their workforce long term.
And this could create a ripple effect.
Totally.
Leading to a more transactional view of the employee relationship.
Yeah.
Where loyalty and commitment become less important.
For sure.
Than just immediate cost savings.
Right. And that's really bad for company culture.
Right.
If a workforce is largely outsourced or made up of temporary workers,
yeah,
it's hard to build that sense of community and shared purpose.
This raises another point that the article emphasizes, those ethical considerations surrounding these trends.
It's not just about the bottom line.
Right.
Companies have a responsibility to consider the human cost of their decisions.
Absolutely. So we need to talk about things like fair wages.
Yes.
Safe working conditions.
Sure.
For outsourced teams.
Yes.
And transparency with employees about how automation will impact their roles.
That's so important.
These are critical factors.
They are.
It's about ensuring that the pursuit of efficiency and innovation doesn't come at the expense of workers' rights and well-being.
It's about finding that balance.
So we've uncovered a lot of potential challenges here.
We have.
And it seems like a lot to digest.
Yeah, it is. But we've only just scratched the surface.
Right.
There's so much more to unpack when it comes to navigating these really complex issues.
Absolutely. So let's delve deeper.
Okay. Picking up where we left off, I think it's really interesting how the article highlights that idea of strategic in-housing.
Okay.
Like, it suggests that companies are starting to realize that not everything should be outsourced. Or automated.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so instead of just defaulting to, like, the cheapest or most efficient option, they're being more strategic about it, considering which functions are really core to their business and to their culture.
So, like, for example, imagine a company that is known for providing exceptional personalized customer service.
Right.
Would it make sense to outsource that function to a call center where the focus is more on speed and efficiency than on actually building those relationships?
Totally. Or what about a company that prides itself on innovation in a certain field? So by keeping R&D in-house, they can maintain a higher level of control over their intellectual property and foster that culture of continuous improvement.
It's sort of like deciding which seeds you want to plant in your own garden versus buying produce from the market. You know?
I love that.
Sometimes you want to nurture those core capabilities yourself.
Exactly.
To make sure they grow in a way that aligns with your vision.
I love that analogy. And the article suggests that that approach can actually lead to a more engaged and loyal workforce.
Because if employees see that the company is willing to invest in them and keep those core functions in-house, it sends a really powerful message about their value and importance.
It shows that the company is committed to its people for the long run and sees them as more than just replaceable cogs in a machine.
And that can make such a huge difference.
Oh, absolutely.
In terms of morale and motivation and just overall company culture.
It can.
Okay, so we've been talking a lot about the potential downsides of outsourcing and automation.
Right.
But we should acknowledge that these trends
they're not inherently bad.
Are inherently bad,
right.
The article even points out that they can be very effective when used thoughtfully and strategically.
It's all about how you use them.
So this brings us to the concept of upskilling and retraining.
Yes. This is huge.
This seems to be like a key theme.
It is.
That keeps coming up.
Yeah.
Can you kind of elaborate on what that looks like in practice?
Sure. So let's say a company decides to automate a certain process that previously required a whole team of employees.
Right.
Instead of just letting those employees go, they could offer them training programs to help them develop new skills that are in demand within the company.
So instead of viewing automation as a way to eliminate jobs, it can be seen as an opportunity to create new ones.
Exactly.
And help existing employees transition into those.
Yes. And from a business perspective, it often makes more sense to retrain experienced employees who already understand the company and the culture than to constantly hire and onboard new people.
That's more efficient.
It is.
And cost effective in the long run.
And it creates that loyalty and commitment.
Among employees. Knowing that their company is invested in their growth and development.
Exactly. It creates a win-win.
It does.
where the company benefits from a skilled and motivated workforce, and employees feel valued and secure in their careers.
Okay, so we've talked about upskilling and retraining.
Yeah.
What about those ethical considerations?
This is crucial.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just adopt these trends.
Right.
We have to think about how they're implemented and what impact they have on people's lives.
Right. The article emphasizes the importance of fair wages.
Yes.
And safe working conditions.
For sure.
For outsourced teams.
Absolutely.
It's about holding companies accountable.
Yes.
For maintaining ethical standards. Even when operations are spread across different countries and cultures.
It's about recognizing that globalization doesn't erase our responsibility to treat workers with dignity and respect, no matter where they are.
And this ties into the concept of transparency.
Yes.
What role does that play in navigating these complex issues?
Companies need to be open and honest with their employees about how they're using outsourcing and automation. Not just to avoid rumors and anxiety, but to create a more collaborative and trusting work environment.
So instead of surprising employees with layoffs or sudden changes, involve them in the conversation from the beginning.
Yes.
Explain the rationale behind these decisions. Highlight how the company is committed to supporting them through any transitions.
Transparency can go such a long way in mitigating that fear and resistance to change.
It allows employees to feel like they're part of the solution rather than victims of it.
And let's be realistic, change is inevitable in any industry. But how we manage that change makes all the difference.
It sounds like we all need to be more proactive.
We do.
In adapting to this evolving world of work.
Absolutely. This is where lifelong learning comes in. It's not optional anymore. It's essential for staying relevant and employable long term.
So what does that look like for the average worker?
It means constantly assessing your skills. Identifying areas where you might need to upskill or reskill. And just seeking out opportunities for professional development.
And it doesn't necessarily mean going back to college for another degree.
No, not at all.
There are so many online courses, workshops, certifications available that can help people acquire new knowledge and skills.
Exactly. It's about being proactive and taking ownership of your own career development.
And it requires a certain mindset too, doesn't it?
It does.
Being open to new technologies, new ways of working, and being willing to step outside of your comfort zone.
It's about adopting what we call a growth mindset. Viewing challenges as opportunities to learn and evolve rather than threats to your existing skill set.
So we've covered a lot of ground. It's clear that outsourcing and automation are having a significant impact.
Yes, they are.
On the world of work. But as we've discussed, it's not just a simple black and white situation.
No, there are both challenges and opportunities to consider.
And ultimately, it's going to require a really collaborative effort from individuals, businesses, and policymakers to create a future where everyone can benefit from these advancements. So it sounds like we need kind of a more holistic approach here.
I think so.
One that goes beyond just like individual responsibility.
Yeah, definitely governments and educational institutions have a huge role to play in this. In preparing the workforce for the future.
So we're talking about investing in those workforce development programs. Expanding access to affordable training and education. Making sure that like the curricula are aligned with the skills that are actually in demand.
We need a more like agile and responsive system that can keep up with the rapid evolution of technology.
Because those skills that are hot today might be obsolete tomorrow.
Exactly.
It's like we're all on a treadmill.
Kind of,
Just trying to keep up.
But remember, technology is a tool. It's up to us to decide how we use it. And what kind of future we want to create.
So it's not just about adapting to technology. It's about shaping it. How that technology is developed and implemented.
Thinking about the values we want to embed in our systems and processes.
What kind of future of work do we want?
One that benefits a select few, or one that provides opportunities for everyone to thrive.
That's a big question.
It is.
And it's one we all need to be asking.
And the decisions we make today will impact generations to come.
It's not just about jobs. It's about building a more just and equitable society. Where everyone has the chance to reach their full potential.
Well said.
This has been an incredibly thought-provoking deep dive.
It has.
It's clear that outsourcing and automation, present both challenges and opportunities.
Yes.
And navigating these complexities requires us to stay informed, ask tough questions, and demand better solutions.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Louisa.
Of course.
For joining me and sharing your insights.
It's been a pleasure, Dave.
And to all our listeners, thanks for joining us for another episode of HR Game Changers.
See you next time.